So in the last video, we stopped at this question and I asked you to try it out by yourself. If you haven't watched the last video, I highly recommend that you check it out, as this video is a continuation from the previous one. You can find the link to that video at the top right corner of your screen, or you can also find the link in the description below. So let's start the question. A survey was conducted in a certain village on 80 randomly selected households. Revealed the following information. 5 households had neither water supply nor electricity. 30 households had no electricity. The number of households having only water supply was 7 more than the number of households that had both water supply and electricity. Represent this information in a Venn diagram. So let's start by defining the sets. So let's say that set A is the number of households that have no electricity. And set B is the number of households that have no water supply. Now if you read this information, you can easily find out that the survey is taken on 80 randomly selected households, which means 80 should be our universal set. It says 5 households had neither water supply nor electricity. So the households that do not have both water supply and electricity is our intersection set, because set A is the number of houses that have no electricity, set B is the number of houses that have no water supply. So the intersection set has to be the number of houses that don't have both electricity and water supply. So that means this 5 falls in this region. And in the next information, it is said that 30 households had no electricity, which means the total number of houses that fit inside set A is 30. So if the intersection region has 5, then this is 30 minus 5, which is 25. So we have used this information as well. The next, they say the number of households having only water supply was 7 more than the number that had both water supply and electricity. Now this is a little trickier because we don't have a region that says only water supply, nor do we have a region that says both water supply and electricity. This question is very similar to the question that we discussed earlier, where we had to deal with the number of people who do not like to listen to radio and the number of people who do not like to watch the TV. Well, if you haven't checked that question, you can find that video at the top right corner of your screen. So in order to solve this problem, let's go ahead and identify each region. So our set A is no electricity, and our set B is the number of households that have no water supply. So that clearly tells us that our intersection region here is the region that includes all the households that have no electricity and no water supply. So let's write that down. And this region here then should be the number of houses that do not have only electricity, right? So these are the number of houses that don't have electricity only. Now what does that mean? Saying that a household does not have only electricity also means that that particular household only has water supply. So instead of writing it as don't have electricity only, we can also write it as only water supply. So only water supply. And likewise, this region over here includes all the households that do not have water supply only. So let's write that down. So saying that those households do not have water supply also means that those households only have electricity. So this is same as saying only have electricity. And finally, the outside region. So if the intersecting region has all the households that do not have electricity and water, the outside region, the blue region, should include all the houses that have both water supply and electricity. So this region is the number of houses that have both water supply and electricity. So now that we have identified the regions clearly, let's go ahead and read the last point of the question again. The number of households having only water supply was 7 more than the number that had both water supply and electricity. So let's identify what these regions are. The number of households having only water supply? Well, that's the yellow region. The number of households that has only water supply, the yellow region. It's 7 more than the number of households that had both water supply and electricity. Both water supply and electricity is the blue region. So basically what they're saying is that the number of households in the yellow region is 7 more than the number of households in the blue region. And we already know the number of households in the yellow region, and that is 25. Which means 25 houses minus 7 will give you the number of houses in the blue region. So 25 minus 7 is 18. So the number that falls in the outside region is 18. Now we only have one more region to identify, and that is this region. So to identify that region, we can use the idea that if you add the number of elements in each individual region, it should be equal to the universal set. So if I add 25 plus 5 plus that question mark, I'll call it x for the moment, x plus that 18. If you add all of these values, you should get 80 because 80 is the universal set. So that gives me x equals 32. So which means this region has 32 households. Now let's go ahead and answer the questions. How many households had both water supply and electricity? So that's basically the blue region, having both water supply and electricity, and that's 18. The next question says, how many households had electricity but no water supply? So having electricity but no water supply is as same as saying having only electricity, right? Having only electricity but no water supply. So that's basically the purple region, which is 32. The fourth question says, how many households had no water supply? Well, this is asking about set B, because my set B is no water supply. It doesn't tell you whether the house requires to have electricity or not. It just says that it shouldn't have water supply. So that's 32 and 5 put together. So 32 plus 5, that is 37. And finally, how many households have exactly one of these facilities? Which means either the household should have only electricity or should only have water supply. And if you check out those regions, that is yellow and purple. Yellow includes the number of households that have only water supply, and purple includes the households that have only electricity. So if we add them both together, which is if you add 25 and 32 together, you get 57. And that is the answer for the final question. Hope you understood how to solve this problem. If you found this video useful, smash the like button and subscribe for more similar videos. And also, please feel free to comment below if you have any questions or if you have any topics that you want me to discuss in my future videos. Thank you and see you again.